Today we're back to Macbeth, Act 2, Scene 3. Here we see that the scene starts with a comic relief. A comic relief is a literary device used, it is very strategically placed. A scene of comedy, a light relief that is placed in such a manner that it will come right before a very horrible deed or a very intense scene. So here we see we had ended the previous scene with a knocking, and we see that the porter here, who is standing at the door, he is very intoxicated and he is listening to this knocking, and he imagines that he is the porter of hell itself. And he is imagining he's not guarding St. Peter's pearly gates, but rather he is guarding Satan's door. He is the doorkeeper of hell, and he imagines that the knocking is on that door. So the porter hears a knocking indeed. If a man were porter of Hellgate, he should have turned old, turning the key, knocking with a knock, knock, knock. Who's there in the name of Beelzebub? Here's a farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. Come in time, have napkins and know about you. Here you'll sweat for it. So here we see that these are jokes or a comedy pertaining to that period. This we need to know is the Jacobean England, where people believed in a very literal hell and heaven. The Christian faith, the people of that period were scared of a hell that was full of flames and the hell's porter waiting. So here our porter is imagining different kind of people who would come to hell. He says here is a farmer who has committed suicide. This farmer has he has been storing grain in order to sell it later at a bigger price. But unfortunately for him, the corn, that is the produce, exceeded, and he was not able to do execute his plan of selling it at a greater price. So he committed the act of suicide. And suicide, we know, is against the Christian religion. So this could be a reason that this farmer has reached hell. Next, he chooses, again, he says, knocking with a knock. Knock, who's there in the other devil's name? Faith here is an equivocator that could swear in both the scales against each other. So, next he says here is an equivocator. Equivocator is somebody who speaks in such a way that he contradicts himself, he lies, he also uses what is present day called as a double meaning of using words in such a way that it would mean two things at the same time, white lies. So next, who is coming to hell, he also mentions the joke that the door of hell would be continuously, somebody would be knocking at it. So that imagery that humankind is going into a way, into such a path that they are doing all sorts of vicious sins, which Macbeth himself has also done right now. So these sins would be such that hell would be teeming with people. And this equivocator, who would swear in both the scales against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Oh, come in, equivocator. So this there is an equivocator who says that he has been equivocating for the sake of God, yet he is not able to go to heaven. On earth, he may hold his own, saying that I am doing this equivocation for the sake of God Himself. And oh, come in. He's saying, you please come in, all of you who are waiting out. Now, during this period, we have to notice that there is a lot of political upheaval going on, and the dramatists or players of the period would show a mirror up to the public. This was a period of when the gunpowder plot was carried out against the king. And Henry Garnet was a Jesuit priest who did this plotting, and he also had certain other people plotting along with him against the king. So all this Shakespeare wants to bring into the play. And Henry Garnet was also nicknamed the farmer. So that is the original intention. So in certain plays we would see comic relief would be pertaining to certain things that happened during that period. So now when we read it, we only see the the very direct meaning. But when you go into, you research a bit about it, you will see that these are the political scenario of the time, and Shakespeare is mocking those people who plotted against the king. And Henry Garnet, when he was held in court, was seen equivocating, speaking in such a manner that he seemed to be standing on both sides of the issue. And he also, later on, when he was condemned, said that he had lied for the sake of God. So, Shakespeare here is saying that even if you say that you are lying for the sake of God, there will be one place where your equivocations will be caught. So, all these people who are enemies of the king, he is placing them as those people who are good candidates for hell. So that is a Jesuit priest. Then we had the farmer. Next he says, faith, who's knocking within knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Faith, here is an English tailor come hither for stealing out of a French house. Come in, tailor, here you may roost your goose. So next is a tailor. Next he says, here comes a tailor, and he's stealing out of a French hose. So a French hose is supposed to be a garment which is very tightly fit. So to steal from it, it would have to be a very, very cunning tailor, and he's still making cloth out of it. So the word tailor here, there is a bit of body jokes of the period, or to suggest lechery, a sexual, in it was given here that the tailor was, the tailors are, there was a common, rivalry about them, that they were always with the women folk since they were taking measurements and being with the women. So this is a sort of lewd joke going on here. They would be committing adultery and even syphilis of the period, that is a sexually transmitted disease, was even given to such trades, that they were mingling with such women. So all these are all jokes pertaining to the period, and this is what Shakespeare is using for a comic relief. And today, when you read it, we only need to understand, or as a child who is reading it, you would go into the literal meaning. And then, of course, you can go into the historical context. So you need to remember the farmer, the tailor, and the Jesuit priest. They are all good candidates for heaven, for hell. And Beelzebub is another name for Satan. He is also called the son of Satan or Satan himself. Knocking within. Knock, knock, never at quiet. What are you? But this place is too cold for hell. I'll devil porter it no further. Now, slowly, the porter is getting back to his senses. Suddenly, he's feeling very cold, and he's like, this is too cold even for hell. Where am I? So, you see how intoxicated this man is. I'll devil porter it no further. I'm fed up of listening to this knocking. I'm not going to be the devil porter for it anymore. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. So he says, I was being very diligent. Today I had thought of letting in many people from various professions. This here we see that the dramatist in Shakespeare is holding up the mirror of life to the audience when the porter of hell says, I will let in everyone from various professions. This is to show that in all professions you will meet people who are bad and who are good. So it's not going to pertain to a particular profession or a livelihood. There are evil people everywhere. The worthy Thane of Duncan, Macbeth himself, has proved to be evil. So here he says, I thought to let in everyone from every profession who go the primrose way. Primrose way is the very comfortable way. Those who lead a comfortable life without phasing up to life's trials, but rather smoothly go through putting the burden on other people. Such people who use the primrose way of life would go to eternal bonfire of hell. So Shakespeare is giving warning also to the audience. Knocking within. Anon, I pray you, remember the porter. Now finally he's opening. He's like, dear God, this knocking is going on. So he has finally opened. So after the hell porter finally opens the door, let's see who's coming. It's Macduff. Macduff, was it so late, friend? You went to bed? That you do lie so late? Macduff is in a very friendly manner, he asks, did you sleep so late that you're not getting up? The porter, faith, sir, we were carousing till the second cock, and drink, sir, is a great provoker of three things. So the porter immediately tells this Thane, my dear sir, we were all drinking, we were up drinking till late night, and you know that sleep is a provoker of three things. Macduff, what three things does drink especially provoke? This is a very innocent banter from Macduff to the porter. He's like, so tell me, what three things are provoking you after drinking? Porter, Mary, sir, nose painting, sleep, and urine. Lechery, sir, it provokes and unprovokes. So the comic relief is continuing. He says nose painting. Nose painting is meaning to say that the nose turns red with, the face gets flushed with drinking. And sleep, a person gets very sleepy. And urine, he feels like going to pee all the time. So here we see that Shakespeare needs to make the play palatable for all the audience. And there would be those classes of men in the audience who want that body jokes, revelry, and so he says, this is what drink does to people. It makes us want to go to the toilet all the time, and it turns our face red. Lechery, sir. Lechery is the act where a man follows a woman and, is trying to molest and irritate or annoy a woman. He has that kind of a tendency. That is lechery. It provokes and unprovokes. It provokes the desire, but it takes away the performance. Therefore, much drink may be said to be an equivocator with lechery. Now, here, equivocation is a term quite often used, and we saw that from the beginning. The equivocation comes from the witches who seem to say certain words to imply certain other meaning and also to fool people. Now, here, drink is used as an equivocator. Drink makes a person lecherous. Drink is supposed to give a person desire and at the same time takes away the performance of the desire. A man feels like approaching a woman, making love to a woman at the same time. His ability to perform or make love, that is taken away. So here, these are all quite sensual, sexual coloration in these jokes. It makes him, yet it mars him. It sets him on and it takes him off. So he starts off, maybe he gives long, speeches of love making. He wants to impress the lady love and he falls short. And then he becomes a drunken, slobbish, sniveling, useless fellow. So definitely the woman will not be impressed. So it gives him only this desire to be very sexually appealing, sensually appealing, but it takes away from him that ability to impress a woman. So drink makes a man a fool, and it persuades him and disheartens him, makes him stand to and not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him in his sleep and giving him the lie leaves him. So, drink very beautifully, it gives that man a lie, draws a picture, push, gives him a real push for his ego. He gets a very he feels very manly, and the next moment he is a drunken insensible intoxicated fellow. So these are all life lessons that Shakespeare is giving here. Macduff, I believe drink gave thee the lie last night. So Macduff then mocks the porter and says, I believe drink has done its turn on you. Porter, that it did, sir, in the very throat on me, but I requited him for his lie, and I think, being too strong for him, though he took up my legs sometimes, yet I made a shift to cast him. Now the porter is boasting. He says, yes, drink did lie to me and even took away the use of my legs. I was flopping on the ground, but I still didn't give in. I fought valiantly with this intoxication and I was master of it. We know that he was not the master of it, but he says, I was the master of it. I was, I was able to withstand the drink. Macduff, is thy master stirring? Now enough of banter. Is your master Macbeth up? Our knocking has awaked him. Here he comes. My knocking has brought him up. Lennox, good morrow, noble sir. Now Lennox comes in. He's another nobleman. He says good morning to Macduff and Macbeth. Macbeth, good morrow both. Good morning to both of you. Macduff, is the king stirring, worthy Thane? So he addresses Macbeth as worthy Thane and he's like, has the king got up yet? Is he stirring? Is he awakening? Macbeth, not yet. Macduff, he did command me to call timely on him. I have almost slipped the hour. Our king has desired me to wake him up, and but I think I am a bit late. I have slipped the hour. So I missed the hour of waking him up. Now let me call him. Macbeth, I will bring you to him. I will personally take you to his bedchamber. Macduff, I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but yet is one. So this is an oxymoron. A joyful trouble, where you see negative and positive put together, is an oxymoron. And here he says that how we would tell somebody who is hosting us, we would be like, this is a trouble for you, and the person would say, but this is a joyful trouble. Like I love it. I love the fact that you are giving me this trouble to serve you. So here Macduff is also praising Macbeth by saying that this is indeed a joyful trouble for you, that you get to be the host of King Duncan. And now to wake him up. Macbeth, the labor we delight in physics pain. So he says that, this is a labor which is so delightful. Macduff, I'll make so bold to call, for 'tis my limited service. Let me be the one to call our king. Let me take this joyful trouble. This is my limited service. Macduff, Lennox, goes the king hence today? Will he go today? Macbeth, he does. He did appoint so. Yes, he says that he has appointed, which is to say that he has taken a decision. It is his plan to go from here today. Lennox, the night has been unruly where we lay. Our chimneys were blown down, and as they say, lamentings heard in the air, strange screams of death. Lennox now says, my good sirs, yesterday night was very unruly. There was loud screaming in the night. We heard eerie sounds. Our chimneys were being blown down and prophesying with accents terrible. It seemed like some spirits were making some prophecies of dire combustion. Of combustion means dire destruction. Some very destructive elements were around. New hats to the woeful time. The obscure bird is the owl. Before this, also, we have heard Lady Macbeth saying that the owl was crying out. So, all these ill omens were there, clamored the livelong night. Some say the earth was feverish and did shake. Some even said that there was an earthquake. The earth itself was shaking. All these things were happening. We don't know why. So, this is Shakespeare's way of telling that the very cosmos was reacting because Duncan was killed. So, this is again giving the idea of the divine power of kings. The king is appointed by God Himself. And when God's representative on earth is killed, the very earth will shake in rebellion. The very universe will show its anger. This is Eliot's wasteland. The land is laid barren and wasted because Duncan has died. Macbeth, it was a rough night. Now, Macbeth is also accepting, yes, it was a rough night. Lennox, my young remembrance cannot parallel a fellow to it. I am only so young, only that many years old I am. But in my young remembrance, in all the nights that I remember in my memory, I have no night that can equal, that can be the same as this night. Re-enter Macduff. Oh, horror, horror, horror! Tongue nor heart cannot conceive nor name thee. So now we see that Macduff has found Duncan dead in his bed. And Macduff says, oh, horror, horror, horror. The tongue cannot pronounce what has happened. The heart cannot conceive what has happened. The eye cannot look on what has happened. It is inconceivable. Macbeth and Lennox, what's the matter? What's the matter? Macduff, confusion now hath made his masterpiece. Most sacrilegious murder hath broke up. So confusion itself has descended. I don't know what has happened. Such a sacrilegious deed, such a horrifying, horrifying murder, such a deed that is a very, sacrilege is something like, like something holy has been abused. The Lord's anointed temple and stole hence the life of the building. So the Lord's building, the temple itself, a thief has entered and taken the spirit within. Macbeth, what is it you say? The life? Lennox, we knew His Majesty. So now Lennox and is asking, are you saying that something has happened to our Majesty? And Macbeth is acting very innocent. What is the matter? So confusion hath made his masterpiece. Masterpiece means the most greatest work. The greatest work of confusion itself is this murder. Macduff, approach the chamber and destroy your side with a new gorgon. Do not bid me speak. See and then speak yourselves. So here Macduff says, go on, go to the bedchamber and look. Let your eyes tell you the horror that I have seen. From this, we understand that Macduff is no longer able to speak coherently. He is not able to tell them what has happened. He is so affected by this horrible sight. And this new Gorgon, we know the story of Medusa, where, to look upon her is to change into stone. So the Gorgon is Medusa herself. And the sight of Medusa's head, we know, changes a person into stone. So Macduff is saying that I have become like a stone looking at this horrible sight, and you too will become such. Pray, see what has happened here. Enter Macbeth and Lennox. Awake, awake! Ring the alarm bell. Murder and treason. Banquo and Donalbain, Malcolm, awake! Now they're loudly calling everyone. Banquo, Donalbain, Malcolm. Everybody, come in, come in. Shake off this downy sleep, death's counterfeit. Counterfeit, death's counterfeit is supposed to be sleep. The pretense of death is sleep. And shake away your sleep. Do not, no longer, tarry on your beds. get up, come on. The great doom's image, come and see. Malcolm, Banco, as from your graves rise up and walk like sprites. As if you are awakening from your graves itself. Please get up and come and see what has happened here. To countenance this horror, ring the bell. So we see that here everyone is waking up and coming to the scene. So we will continue in the next.